Hey, welcome everyone again. This is Sam Lewis, and I'm really happy to be hosting some interviews in conversation with sessions with some DJs. And I am really thrilled to have DJ Celeste Lear in the building. Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining. You are in LA, and I hope that you're not burning up with all that heat. You still have the heat out there?
It has been so intense. The fires and the smoke have been very, very strong. And I actually relocated to the Bay Area, so I'm up in the Bay Area right now. And the fires have been just, heart wrenching, and the skies have been very smoky up until recently. So it's been an intense time for sure here in California.
Well, I hope you stay safe with pandemics and
Oh,
fires
I
and
know. Wow, there's
elections
so
and
much
all
going
that
on.
stuff. Well, glad to have you here. And
Yeah.
so you are a DJ and music producer, and I may be forgetting a couple of other things that you do as well.
Recently, VR artist.
VR artist. So you're DJing in a VR environment, but you're creating those environments as well.
Yeah, that's something I've been super lucky and inspired and excited to get into this last year. And we can talk more about it. I'll tell you kind of some of the tricks of the trade and how I got into it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my questions. I know I wanted, before I forget, I want to give a big shout out to Antoine Lee of the Solar Shrine Project, which is going to be an amazing project at Burning Man. And he's the one that introduced us. And so definitely got to say what up to him. And if you haven't heard of the Solar Shrine Project, you need to do some Googling yesterday about it. Really cool project, an Afrofuturistic project that is just sublime in its simplicity, but then also just really an amazing space and using principles of ancient Kemet and Egypt.
Yeah.
That is, I, you know, if it wasn't for this dang pandemic, we could be experiencing this thing at Burning Man 2020, but it will be there. We just have to hold tight.
I'm so excited about the Solar Shrine, and Antoine has been fantastic to work with, really enthusiastic, and he's built a 3D representation of what was actually going to be a real structure in real life that they were going to build at Burning Man before it got canceled. And I've been a couple times on site in VR with the goggles to go see the build and check it out and do a prior walkthrough, and it is beautiful, and also what it stands for is really special because they're going to be having workshops, speakers from all around the community in the United States, talking about really pertinent topics and stuff that's we need to be discussing right now. So it's not just music and party, it's actually going to be a chance for us to like really get real and sit down and discuss current events. And yeah, and I really appreciate that vision, and I'm very honored to be on board.
I heard that. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's especially timely. You would think that they just thought of it like, recently, but it's been a long time in the works. And it's where these ideas that are formulated then soon have so much more urgency to them. And so I feel that way about that project specifically. And I know that Burning Man is not going to be an in-person event this year, but that definitely does not mean that there isn't anything going on. They have such a robust
Oh my gosh, people are
offering.
going insane right now with all the different builds that are going up. They're super, really creative and very high tech, but the whole community came together also with the tech community that's excited to be a part of something they might not have been to before, but they still have this vision for what they want to create, how they want to bring people together. Some of the sets are very playful. Some of them are very rich, colorful, vibrant 3D artwork. And I want to let people know also that you do not have to have VR goggles to attend. You can still come in a desktop mode for a lot of these different platforms that are springing up. And so we just want everyone to feel included, like just because people can even come on a cell phone to some of these. So yeah, everyone wanted to be inclusive.
Absolutely. I think they did a great job. So for those who may be unaware, you're talking about the multiverse.
Yes.
As they've dubbed it. And the multiverse includes, like, is it 7 or 8 or maybe even more different
people are coming out of the woodworks with new ones, but I think there's at least 6 to 8 that have sprung up. And one of them has actually been in the works, has been around since 2007. I'm also DJing there. It's in Second Life, which is old school technology.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's old school, but you know what? There's a Burning Man camp, and it's so fun. They're so colorful and wild, and there's beautiful art and stages. And so that's one of the burns. It's been around since 2007.
I think it's great. And they also, and I was just checking out the website, so I'm like up to the moment with my facts, I hope. They also set up a nice grid to let you know what is required for each experience. If you need VR goggles, if you don't, how you can experience, you need to register, all of the ins and outs of how to best experience this whole thing. So I thought that was really very well curated.
Like a good directory, and that's on Kindling. So if you go to the Burning Man main website, it's another sub-site called Kindling, and they're going to direct you, and you can kind of figure out what works for you. I'm planning on kind of bouncing around to different ones through the course of the week, and just seeing, what people are bringing.
This all kicks off, is it August 30th?
It's the 30th, and it's going to go for a week. So that's, and then the culmination is going to be like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when things usually start to go like pretty wild. And I'd like to remind people, this is also an experiment. So it's a social experiment and it's a technological experiment. So some of the people don't know how the programs are going to react when we start getting hundreds of thousands of avatars. Some of the programs could slow down. So we kind of have to keep in mind that this really is an experiment. It's kind of never been done before. So I would say it's pretty revolutionary, and we are all just so curious how it's going to turn out. But yeah, the more avatars come, usually it's more intensive on the system for the server. And so it could slow down quite a bit. So we're going to have to see what happens.
So this VR DJing experience. So I'm assuming you started out as a more traditional DJ with your practice, and then at some point VR came into your world. So do you have like a tech background, or did VR and the opportunity to DJ in that environment spurred your interest in creating these worlds?
Yes. Okay. So I come from both a sound engineering, music theory background, and also visual arts. So those were my two focuses. I've always been a highly, highly creative individual with a drive to create, inspire. And I was very, very blessed to have been able to study music theory and sound engineering formally, along with a bit of art. And my main focus went into sound engineering. And I'm originally from Los Angeles, but I bounced back and forth a bunch of times between Northern California and Southern California. It's pretty incredible. I lived in San Francisco and Santa Cruz, and the sound engineering courses were mostly in Santa Cruz and San Francisco, and I've been involved in the music tech scene in San Francisco. It's like a mecca for technology and innovation and arts. So I've just been really drawn and amazed that I've been able to be a part of this on some level. And but I've made my money mostly over the course of the last 12 years as a mobile event DJ. So I actually own really like a solid sound system, and I cart it around with my assistant, and like we set it up and rock out for like whoever will hire us. I do clubs and festivals more recently since I've become a little more well-known, but I kind of built and like doing random gigs like you would not believe what I've had to do to make money over the years. It's just crazy.
The hustle never stops. I know that's the truth, and especially in the DJ world. I mean, you have to. It's kind of like paying for a soft drink at a stadium. It's like the soft drink, if you get it in one place, it's $5. You get it in another place, they give it to you. So it's like you have to pick these events where they see your value and
or you're desperate and you take whatever you can get because it's competitive
that's
too.
When, there's that free Coke too. There's that free Coke. But so how did you get introduced into the VR DJing?
So I would say since I've been in the Bay Area and involved with the music and tech world here, I've gone to a number of mixers over the years where new companies, like startups, were introducing their technology in beta form. And every time I saw it, I was always really pretty blown away. And then I went last year to a special VR and music kind of like it was a party. It was a mixer at a very famous nightclub in San Francisco where it's the first time I've ever seen an avatar performance from a DJ. And they broadcasted it through their amazing club sound systems, like a 20,000 watt sound system. And the DJ was in the Midwest, right? And he's a very famous DJ named David Starfire, very famous in the Burning Man community. And I was pretty blown away because it was the same equipment that you see in a nightclub. It's CDJ, the CDJs, the 2000s and a Nexus 900. And he was using it with his little avatar hands. And so I got introduced to that and I decided that I wanted to do it. And so I got the VR set up about a year ago and I've just been like full blast as much as I can, practicing, learning about the technology and diving in.
So you have to obviously curate the music that you want to DJ out, but then you're also spending time creating this environment as well. Is that right?
Well, it's different from platform to platform. So the Tribe, what I was just telling you about, what inspired me to get into it, Tribe XR, is actually they provide the backgrounds for you. They provide the the emulations of the DJ hardware. You can upload your own music. So it took me a while to like figure out how to do that because I had to switch from a Mac to a PC. Wow. Seriously, there's just such different animals. And it was an investment of time and money to do this too. So definitely a couple different factors coming in here. As for creating my own environments, I was also inspired by some of the DJs that I'd seen in Wave. Okay, and so Wave is, for me, it's revolutionary. It's next level tools for performance for DJs and musicians. And The Weeknd just performed using Wave, and Lindsey Sterling, the violinist, the Glitch Mob, Imogen Heap. So it's becoming pretty famous. And this is where if you have an overactive imagination and some maybe, yes, it's so necessary. And also, you have an eye for design. You don't necessarily have to do all the design yourself, but it helps if you learn a little 3D modeling. I do most of my modeling in Tilt Brush, which is an art application in VR where you paint all around you, surround, and you paint with fire and lasers, and like you can paint with crystals. They give you these next level tools. It's so incredible. And so if someone can conceptualize their dream stage, right? Like say you're like a smaller time DJ, like me, that you in your biggest like ego, you want the stage that has lasers shooting out of it and like giant bunny rabbits on the side, or like, I don't know, sky's the limit. So I've been tapping into that and learning how to build, and it's so fun. It's so gratifying on so many levels.
Absolutely. And it
So
also,
weird.
I'm assuming like just further put your stamp on there because it's unique to you. And so people can really pick up on that and they kind of, it's more immersive than just the music because they're getting a multi-sensory experience from your
Yeah.
mind, which I love.
Yeah, yeah. If some of the DJs in Wave right now, there's a whole community of resident DJs that are um, designing, and it's all we don't get paid for this. This is all labor of love. We're not making money yet. I mean, some of us are kind of like, okay, how? Oh my, so much. I've been building these environments for 7 months and learning how to do this for longer. So I'm kind of really hoping and praying because I'm not working right now either. So there's no work for DJs and the online busking.
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
it just doesn't. It's
it's
hard
not
to make
making it.
money.
It's been really tough. I mean, it's like as with a lot of things, it's a feast or famine because there are a very small subset of select DJs that are making money, but for the vast majority, it's been very, very difficult, to say the least. And
Yeah.
so, have people reached out to you? Other DJs reached out to you and say, "Hey, can you design an environment for me?" You know, have
It's
you?
also
Are you
new.
open to
Actually,
that?
I've been sending out newsletters to my community saying, hey, I'm doing this just to introduce, because it is really new and people are still kind of wrapping their head around how this is going to work. And I do think that VR is going to be a big part of entertainment in the future. And it's going to revolutionize entertainment in so many ways. And a lot of my friends and I have also been like philosophizing about the good, the bad, and like the ugly of like how how VR is going to affect humanity, how it's going to bring us together, how it's going to make clubbing and festivals more fun. And I'm talking from a performer and entertainment standpoint. There's so many different applications for VR. There's even meditation classes going on in alt space. This is awesome.
That is awesome. So, how do you see? So, right now, it's even though it's obviously a super horrible situation to be in a pandemic right now, it also provides an opportunity and more of a justification for people to kind of experiment with this VR reality. Um, then hopefully we're going to go back to some semblance of the way it was before. And so, how do you see that merging? Because I feel like we have gone in places where we're not going to go back. And that's a good thing because there have been some good revelations that have come through this. And then trying to incorporate those back into what was the real world. How do you see that playing out potentially?
So Bay Area and LA, like my crew, are complete and total party animals, right? You cannot get these people to stop partying if you paid them, all right? So they're gonna find a way, and we're also like, I would say 100%, there is no comparison to the real thing, being with your friends, being together in physical form. The avatars, like it's an avatar hug doesn't even come close, right? Let's admit it. But it's kind of novel. I even saw avatars making out on my dance floor the other night. It was like, wow, what are they doing? It's amazing.
So is it illegal to have avatar sex in these rooms? I mean,
you
what, are we
know,
going to get to that?
that's really funny. Actually, Second Life, I guess, is one of the ones that's really naughty, and it's been banned off of Twitch because they do some crazy things. So they can't stream from Second Life to Twitch. So it's where like some of the naughty people hang out. Isn't that weird?
That is hilarious.
It's so bizarre. Anyway, at least facets of human creation are like so crazy and bizarre. But back to the topic. So my community and I are, we're big on the nightlife, clubbing, and festival culture. Like rave culture is always been a big part of my life and really important, and something I really love and take a lot of inspiration from on so many different levels. So I don't think that's going to go away. I think it's actually going to come back, and I think that people are going to be really excited to get back together and do it again. But I don't know. We're all debating how this is going to happen.
Yeah, because I could see a world where there's you're there and you're live, but then there's also more overt VR and other kind of augmented realities
Yeah.
mixed in with that live experience to enhance it in some ways. And I'd just be interested to see how that plays out, because I am a huge fan of technology, but I'm also a throwback in a lot of ways, believing in being with nature and being connected to
Oh,
the planet. And
absolutely.
so when those two things come together, that's when I'm probably the happiest. And so I would love to see a mixture of that, because like you said, I had a conversation just earlier tonight with a couple of DJs who play a lot of house music, and we were just reminiscing over the events that we had here in Chicago, and there is just no substitute for that. You can get people together, and if they're socially distant, it's still not the same. It's like they need to be physically close, like sweating on
Yeah.
each other, like feeling that vibration, like in that community, in that communion.
If
And
you're in the flirt zone too.
that's how you have that transcendence, that
We were joking that this will be the first year there's no unwanted pregnancies at Burning Man, right? Because people, I mean, it's kind of like a frisky community, but it's so important. And my friends and I also, I want to say, like, I'm in spirituality and different forms of spirituality, and we talk sometimes about how life forms actually have like a magnetic field around them. They have a natural, like a radiance, a radiation, and you feel that when you're around other people. You feel like good energy or bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the avatars, I hope that young people don't get too used to just partying in a computer, because you're going to miss so much of like real life and that connection. And I tell people that actually certain of my sets afterwards, I will remind people, I said, hey, you guys don't forget, like go outside and take a walk and like hug a tree, because like the nature, like the natural world is the reason we are even here right now. It's so important. We cannot lose our connection with nature. It's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so how many times are you a Burning Man veteran?
I've been 9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
And have you performed there?
I performed a couple times, but I also came the first couple years more as a visual artist. So I have a sculpture that I built myself. And let me see if I have a picture, some show and tell
Yes.
here.
Yes.
And of course, if you've heard about the weird things about Burning Man, one of the best parts is the visual art, the installation art, and to what great lengths people will go to bring an amazing piece of art out to the desert to show and for people to enjoy. So before I got into sound engineering and music production, I actually learned how to weld. And there's like a really big collective of welders that go out to Burning Man and build these amazing structures. And so
Yeah.
mine was small, but let's see if I have a good picture here.
Yeah, I have respect for welders, because my grandfather was one. He was a blacksmith and then transitioned into welding.
This is the piece that came out. And to be honest, like, I don't know if you know any goths in Chicago, but I went through a gothic phase.
Yes, of course.
And so I was obsessed with, like, I don't know, like Dungeons and Dragons and
Oh, yes.
And fairy tale art, and wearing black, and I have fire engine red hair, and
That's beautiful.
so yeah, this piece came out to Burning Man a number of years. And
it's suspended. That's how you normally show it. You suspend it, or is it?
Yeah,
does it have a base?
let me see if I have another picture in here so you can see how it hangs.
I love those eyes. I love it. Oh yes.
That's actually at the burn. I forget what year some of these are, but people really love it, and they would leave little gifts in her mouth. Like I got CDs and jewelry, and it's really sweet. But, oops.
That's awesome.
It's cut off, but you can kind of see. So I also have some fun pictures of Burning Man in here somewhere for anyone that's never heard of it.
I'd be surprised about that. I mean, not surprised if they haven't gone, but having heard of it, I mean, it's such a phenomenon, and it's really such a unique event that has had its transitions and its changed. And I was really proud of them, just even, getting with Antoine and being open to that project is trying to show some inclusivity, because I don't know how many people of color were like, yeah, we're going to Burning Man. I know some, but it just seems like this is something that could get people thinking, what's going on out there? Maybe I can be a part of that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, actually, let's talk about that, because my first year was actually 1999. So I started going when I was 20 years old. And what you would see more for like diversity is you'd see Rastas out there, like there, because in California and West Coast, you definitely get like a crew of kind of like dready Rastas. So you'd see them, but not as many. And you see also like more Asian people come out. And yeah, that's something we talked about over the years. There wasn't as much of a good representation or diversity. I had a roommate who in Oakland back in like 2002, and I invited him. He's of African descent, and he said, no, I don't want to go because it's elitist. It's like only white people go. And I was like, well, come come with me and let's change it. And he's like, no, it's too expensive and it's too elite. And then I felt guilty. I was like, oh God, I feel like it's not, my even roommate, I loved my roommate. He was awesome on so many levels, right? But he didn't want to come because he felt like it was too exclusive. And to be honest, it's expensive to go because the tickets, it's like you have to travel. It's definitely, you kind of have to look at it as like a vacation. You take that money, instead of going to Hawaii, you go to Burning Man. But it's way extreme weather and crazy. And years later, he told me he wanted to go. So I was kind of like, well, I wonder what changed his tune all those years later.
Yeah, I mean, just probably the familiarity of it, and seeing stories from maybe other people that have gone that he respects, saying, well, you can go. Because I had a friend who went years ago and kind of demystified it for me, and I was like, okay. I can understand this thing now, because it's so hard. It's like, being a man, it's hard for me to think about simple things such as walking down the street in the middle of the night, and how a woman may not feel comfortable doing that. And I'm like, I'm just walking down the street. But different populations and different people have different experiences and relate to things in different ways. And I think when you talk up to at least a lot of Black people about going out into the desert, where you're out, kind of out there, that may fill them with a little bit of worry, because they're like, what's going to happen to me out there, And it's a real thing. And so I think if once people realize, okay, that's a nurturing environment, I can go there. I mean, we used to make books saying where it was safe to travel, It's like, that's where we were coming from, where we had to have a book that says you can go here, I wouldn't go there.
You know what? You're welcome at Burning Man any day of the week, and you will be embraced. Like, that's one of the things that I love about it, and has changed my life. And I just love festival culture and rave culture in general, because people, they're festive and fun, playful, and mostly very accepting, welcoming, and warming. And if you read like Burning Man has like the 10 principles, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but they're actually really solid. They're really beautiful. It's great concepts to live by, for especially during the week of Burning Man, and just for, like radical inclusion. If you see someone that is lost, like go up to them and like help them, include them in your reality, and like decommodification. So we don't want logos. We don't want corporations. Although, they're saying like over the years, it's changed a lot, because a lot of people with money come in and with their private planes and their RVs, and they say it's changed over the years. You know, it has and it hasn't. I don't know. What I definitely want to help make it more inclusive and make it more welcoming.
I think that's the move in a lot of spaces now, and I think it's extremely necessary and vital at this time. So, in you know, when they're making space for an Afrofuturistic installation at the Solar Shrine, then that definitely gives me hope that progress is being made, and that they're saying by that not so subtle statement that you are welcome here. And I think that just makes everything better. But I do agree that as things go on and as the years pass, there is a degradation of the core essence of what something started out as. And so you experiencing something over a decade, I'm sure it was really different back then than it is now, and still may be cool, but things evolve and change. It's just a natural progression of things. And so sometimes people feel like it's losing the bit that it had at one point. And that may be true, it may not be true, but it can still be really awesome. And I know I was a part of Pitchfork Music Festival here since the beginning of the thing, and I've definitely seen it kind of evolve and change over the years, in some ways for the better, and in some ways like now the word's out, people know, and they're like coming in and trying to change what was this really pure and beautiful thing that we had for so long, you know?
And then you have another spin-off. Usually everyone gets fed up and it's like, okay, we're going to do something totally different. That's where the innovation comes in. So I think that most of the people in the rave community, they really embrace technology and innovation. The first time I went to Burning Man, I was pretty blown away, like how much technology people dragged out to the desert into all the elements, like the dust and wind, like including the DJs who brought really expensive equipment, and it got dust. I mean, it gets ruined every year. They lose, like, it's kind of intense. And there's also been a lot of debate on how wasteful certain music festivals are, and Burning Man included. There's a lot. It's a carbon footprint to come out there. So they even encourage people to do carbon offsetting. If you believe that helps, then you pay someone to plant trees to offset your travel and what you waste. It's also supposed to leave no trace event, so people stay for a month afterwards and pick up and make sure every little last piece looks back to normal, more or less. And if anyone's out there right now, you can get on Google Maps and do an aerial search over near the Reno, Nevada area, and you'll see there's actually, I put that image up earlier. This is what the city looks like from an aerial view.
Wow.
And it's a giant phoenix. It was kind of designed to look like a phoenix.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's pretty neat. And so, yeah, Google Maps, there are a lot of people from Google go to this event, and so they actually put it in Google Maps. That's there permanently.
Wow. So what is that dark area over to the left of the image?
Those are mountains.
And so it's right at the edge of the mountain, and then there's a lighter shade of, is that all still sand, that lighter area?
Yeah, that's all desert sand. It's an ancient lake. I mean, it used to be ocean. It was underwater, and a lake. I think like hundreds of thousands of years ago. And when it rains, actually, my God, the whole terrain turns into mud. Like, you get stuck. We've had our cars kind of sink into the mud, and we had to get shovels and dig it out one year. And you can't walk. The mud's really sticky, so you have to just stay where you are. And that's another thing. Like, if you get stranded somewhere, everyone's supposed to take you in like you were one of the family. And generally we found that to be true.
I heard that.
So more festivals need to have that concept, I think.
They really do, but I noticed that sometimes when the weather gets supposedly bad, that's when people start having just a different kind of fun. You know, there's definitely fun and mud, and I'm sure that is happening.
It's part of the experience because you have the goggles and masks, and then you have to take shelter wherever you are. And usually wherever that is going to be a fun party. So you're kind of like, oh, where will we end up?
Oh my God! Now you're making me want to go. Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be different, but we're gonna still make it fun. And I'm telling everyone to try to be open-minded because so many people are putting in their blood, sweat, and tears to make something really creative and fun for us to go to.
Absolutely, and I think that's been kind of my mantra through this whole thing is that no, there are things that are not possible right now, but there's definitely a lot that is possible, and I rather focus on what is possible instead of lamenting what isn't.
Yeah, don't be like Trump and the Republicans. They're so negative. Ugh. Think positively and constructively.
Yeah. That's my blood type. Be positive, so I.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. And I was like, yes, of course it is.
Oh, that's so cute.
So what your musical journey has the styles that you have spun or that you play during performances, has that evolved over the years, or where do you feel like you have come from and where are you now as it relates to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for your interest, by the way. It's really wonderful to talk about it. So I will have to say, since I have been a hired gun as a DJ that had to make money every weekend, I have to kind of play what my clients want me to play. And I had to, look like I really enjoy doing that, even no matter how bad it is, right? And I get requests. I've had to deal with it. It's like the DJ's worst nightmare. But again, I've been able to make pretty good living doing what I'm doing. For my creative side, I'm like a little bit all over the place. I'm so open-minded that it's actually made my music library grow in many different directions. So I would say I'm a bit of a musical chameleon, but house music is something that I can say I always come back to. It's really grounding. When my friends and I go out to events or we go to certain festivals, we usually frequent the house music stage. I particularly like deep house. I also can like some of the new bass house with the really creative kind of heavily synthesized bass lines, the bouncy, sexy stuff like Dirty Bird. Carl Cox is one. Are you a fan of Carl Cox?
Yes.
Okay, the religious experience of my life on the dance floor, I'm not kidding, was his show. It was transcendent. It took me to another place. So Carl Cox. Wow.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot, and that experience I feel is not an uncommon experience for people who can get what house music can do to you. And that trend, and you say religious experience, and really the root of what religion is that relinking to the source, and that's what you feel. You really are like you're kind of the only person there at that point, but then at the same time you're one with everything.
Yeah. On the dance floor. That's such a fun way to do it too, because you know what I like to say, it's a tribal experience, because in modern day society we don't have as much of a tribal style of living, and that's something I think that we subconsciously really crave. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why going to clubs and listening to like pounding music, like it's bass, the heavy bass, it's a tribal experience, it's a primal experience, and I think that people subconsciously they gravitate towards it because we're together. It's also like bringing us back to our roots, maybe.
Because we have this heartbeat and we're carrying this beat with us, and then when we're able to magnify that and share that is when we can have really profound experiences, So yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm in Chicago. We love house. We know. And I have a not-for-profit arts organization that's a venue that has tried to kind of go forward, but also relive these magical moments of these house events where it's just an incredible sound system, an incredible group of people, and a beautiful collection of DJs, and just living that transcendence,
What's the name of the organization, by the way?
Elastic Arts. Yeah.
Nice. It's
And
like elastic. What is the symbolism?
well, there's on the shirt. It's like very circular. And actually, I have on. Let me see if I
Yeah,
still
see
have
your
it.
logo.
I don't have the. I don't think I have the logo, but I have an interior shot of the space there. And so this is where it's set up for. Hold on, let me.
Looks
Whoops.
cozy. Ooh,
Yeah,
handsome.
it's cozy. It's set up for a more traditional performance there, but imagine all those chairs gone, and it's just a great wood dance floor. And over to the left, where you see that pew, is where there's the DJ.
There's even some stripper poles.
I
Awesome.
know this like is it has everything that you need, you know. And so
Everything
we
you
tried to
need.
do over the last few years, tried to really do some really great events with legends, you know, like Ron Trent and Nicky Ciano and like just a bunch of cats have been through there.
Who,
Louis
who,
Vega.
who, who should I be on the lookout for? Like any names in Chicago that I might not have heard of? Like any DJs or producers that are blowing up or that are long-standing members of the community that I should be aware of?
Yeah, well, the two that I just interviewed prior to you, Dwayne Powell is amazing, Dukane, and John Simmons. Both they're both excellent, and I highly recommend them.
Are they a part of the Solar Shrine Burn crew too?
They are. I think John provided a couple of clips that they're going to use for the 24-hour
Okay.
cycle.
Yeah.
And so he will
24/7.
Yes,
Woo!
that's going to be amazing. It's like the list of DJs that Antoine gathered are some of the best people. And I was like, and I hadn't met him before, and I heard about this project, and I was like, this project sounds dope. You know, it sounds like a great project. And then he said, well, we're trying to get these DJs together and have a house music panel and talk about this stuff. I was like, okay, which DJs? You know, because that's like, you hear people say they want to do something house related, and you're like, well, who are you bringing? And then he started naming folks, and I was like, okay, he's serious. And that's when I knew I can work with this guy. And I'd love to just be a part in any way I could of this project. And so happy to be here in conversation with you. And it's like time flies on Zoom. And so,
oh wow, that was fast.
I know, wasn't it? But it's also quite good as well. So yeah, check out Dwayne Powell and John Simmons, especially Dwayne. I think he has, well, both of them, but Dwayne has such a deep musical knowledge and understanding. He does these events where he like deconstructs a particular artist and really gets really granular into them, like soul artists and things like that. And so he's really a huge tastemaker and is like has a fabulous wardrobe. He said when he moved, he said one time, he said,
Oh, yeah.
you know, you figure out how much music you have once you have to move it, you know? And he said the movers told him, man, you have a lot of records and a lot of shoes. So,
that's a great combination right there.
Great combination.
I should show you some of my raver shoes. You want to see? Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely.
These have actually been worn to festivals, and
oh, I love those.
Oh yeah, this is like, seriously, I don't wear them all the time, but this is my rave shoes right here. These, and burning them the festivals fashion I absolutely love. And I also love that since I'm a DJ, I can show up in some outfits that you would never get away with in a 9-to-5 in a cubicle.
Absolutely. And you have to, you know, I feel. And so that, so has VR changed your music style, or is it just the same style you just translated over there?
You know what? I have gravitated towards mostly up tempo for the VR shows that I'm doing. House and like EDM, like bass heavy EDM. I have a deep love for like future bass sound, even trap, like lower tempo, like 70 BPM. I actually really like the kind of driving, hard, sexy bass music. I think it's amazing. And I think there's so many producers in that genre. That's actually been the genre I've been producing in recently. But when I DJ, I actually usually gravitate towards the up-tempo stuff because I want to keep people like super energized. And for the also I'm tying it in with the visuals that I'm creating in VR. The visuals, like one of my first nightclub experiences that I created was immersive, was a intergalactic multi-dimensional journey through time and space on a spaceship with the dance floor on the wings of the spaceship. And so the avatars could come in and actually hang out and dance. And then I programmed all these tunnels and wormholes and asteroid fields that the ship was traveling through. And there's giant speakers behind the wings, like near the thruster of the jet. It's really hard to imagine, but I'm going to send you a video.
I want to see that. And I would hope that there would be a black hole there and you just get spaghettified into a black hole. And then
my husband's a physicist. My husband is studied physics into cosmology. So we go there, we geek out. I'll send you the video.
That's a perfect combination.
Yeah. So I would say like anyone getting into the VR sector, as I mentioned before, it really helps if you have an overactive imagination and a really good work ethic also, because it is going to take a lot, years or months, many months of hard work and focus to be putting on a lot of these shows, the good quality ones.
Heard that. So in the time that we have left, because I think we have maybe about 5 minutes or so left, want to know definitely how people can get in touch with you, but then also some things that may be coming up and how, where they can find you during this whole Burning Man virtual situation, and then anything else that I may have missed. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, we covered so much ground. So I have a website and it's DJCelesteLear.com. So Celeste and then LEAR.com.
Like the jet.
Like the jet. And that has a schedule on it. And I'm actually, everything's very last minute. So, but I just got booked for Opulent Temple, which is one of the biggest sound stages at Burning Man, and I'm really excited because it's been a long time dream of mine. Like Carl Cox has played there. Okay, this is for me. My mind is like being blown, but it's in VR, so it's a little bit different. It's not quite as glamorous. They don't have they have like a 40,000 watt function one sound system, and everything's just being streamed at this time. So I'm going to put up the schedule on my social media, and I'll be promoting. So yeah, if anyone's curious, I also have I stream all my videos to YouTube, and I'm so happy to share this vision. It's so fun, and I really do want to help bring people together. I'm like a party animal, and I love when all my friends are together and happy on the dance floor. It's like some of my happiest moments in life. So the fact that I get to help do that is just really incredible.
It really is. I mean, if you love what you're doing like that, I mean, as they say, you never work a day in your life. And so, and I know that may not ring true all the time, because I'm sure you're putting in some long hours getting all of this stuff together.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
But it does have a value, and I think people tend to too easily dismiss party culture and as like a frivolous thing, but it's really essential to our survival. I mean, it's essential to my mental health to be able to go and just listen to music and then experience music with other people. You can't imagine life without it, And so
we've been doing some sneaky renegade sound system parties in the parks, but we're very down low and literally just like 20, 30 people and distance. So we have some beautiful parks in Redwoods, at least we did before all these fires. Yeah. Pretty intense times. Don't take your parks for granted.
That is
California is on fire. Like our house is on fire right now. It is so crazy. I hope that we have talks. I hope, that during Burning Man virtual, there's going to be all kinds of panels and talks. And so you can maybe go online and see what's happening where. But people are going to be talking about what's going on, current events, and again, going deep And we need to do that right now. We need to communicate and get all the thoughts swirling, like figure out how we
Figure
can
out, I think, is crucial.
yeah,
Like coming to
yeah.
some solutions and then trying to implement those to make things better.
Yeah.
It's
Like
so
our friends, our best friends, my husband's best man was over here on Saturday. His house burned to the ground. They lost everything. It's so crazy. Times are so crazy right now. Anyway, I'm going through like waves of emotion through this whole thing. Just again, looking forward to like blowing off some steam, having fun, and sharing music next week.
I heard that. Well, thank you, DJ Celeste Lear.
Woo!
It's we go way back now, an hour.
Did we get a whole hour?
I think it's close. Yeah. And
Yay!
so, I think we got it done, and it felt like 10 minutes. So it's great talking with you, and I appreciate.
One more thing, actually, how can I support your work? Like, how can I help you with your organization or anything you're doing in Chicago?
Well, we are, as a matter of fact, having a fundraiser coming up the second week of September, and it's going to be a virtual event. And you can find out more information at elasticarts.org, elasticarts.org. And I'm also an artist myself. I have a long history of acting and doing some music, like some hip hop stuff, spoken word stuff. But over the last decade,
wait, as the MC?
yeah.
Ooh, I want to hear that.
But over the last decade or so, I've been doing a lot of puppetry. And
what? That's
yes,
awesome.
yeah.
I love that. If you come to Burning Man next year, if it's open, you should do a puppet show because people love that.
I would love that. I would love that. And so I'll share some videos with you of some stuff that I just did a video that I'm really proud of on the 4th of July, actually, based on some family history that I learned that has taken me back to the mid 1700s. And so I kind of hit I ended up running into a man who his family enslaved, like basically my entire father's side of my family. And he had information, and he was more than willing to share the information, and I consider him
oh my gosh,
it's really deep stuff. And so I had to like kind of try to express that. It changed my whole puppetry game because I was actually working with a vintage marionette, and I shifted gears and had a puppet built, and I'm working with a puppet representation of my grandfather right now. So it's crazy stuff.
That's such a constructive way to tell your family story, and also like maybe vent frustration and anger, and but in a creative way. It's really cool. You don't hear that often. There's not that many people that do it.
Art has saved my life, and I know you can understand. You just can't imagine life without it, and that's why I think part of the thing that's been so difficult during this pandemic is that we're not able to be our full artistic selves. I've still felt creative, but it's a diminished creativity or a limited creativity at the very least. So you just really want things to get beyond this, maybe never back to what we consider normal, but beyond this, and so that we can kind of be our full selves once again,
I like that.
And so, yes, until then, so great to meet you and great to talk with you, and much success with the projects coming up and going forward. And I will definitely deep dive into your work, because the work that I've seen so far, I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to dive into some more stuff, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you in the physical at some point. So
that would be great. Or just come to Alt Space to the Solar Shrine on Thursday night at 10 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, because that's my gig with Antoine and his crew.
Sweet. That's going to be great. Yes. Well, thank you. And you have a good night.
Okay. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks again for having me on.
Right on.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Sending you some California love.